so in love with you.
Selling real estate in this market right now is absolutely bonkers. You guys, welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. This has been the best time to sell your home in the entire US housing market. And that's what today's video is going to be on, guys. Now, I want to make this really clear. Not everyone has the same type of selling opportunity. Selling your house can cost as much as 8%. So for people that just bought, obviously it may not be the best time for you to sell. This video is going to be me essentially explaining to you why it's the best time to sell from a profitability standpoint. So we're going to talk about all the reasons why it's so profitable, and then also the fact that you don't necessarily have to cash in on your house and buy another house. There's certain things you could do in the meantime to sit out this housing market. Also, I'm going to go into why I think your window may be closing as far as the opportunity you have as a seller to cash in on your equity. Now, this all may be accelerated as far as the housing market decline by a possible recession right around the corner. Is 2020 the year the housing market finally crashes? Now, as you guys know, this is just my opinion. I'm an opinion sharer. I'm not a financial advisor. I am a loan officer in Texas and Realtor in the city of Houston. So we're going to break some things down right now with data and with charts. The first thing we're going to cover is why it's so profitable to sell. And then the second part of the video will be why that window is closing. Now, essentially, the reason why you want to sell right now is because the housing market and the value of homes are at the absolute peak, and it may be worth it to you to cash in on the massive equity growth that you've been getting year after year after year. The question again is, after you sell, what do you do with the profits afterwards? But it is the absolute peak right now to sell your house. The number one thing, in my opinion, that you should do if you want to sell right now or you're thinking about selling is immediately get a CMA, which is a comparable market analysis that you can get from your local realtor or whoever is in your area that is currently practicing real estate. That's going to be a good way for you to find out what your bottom line profits are after the commissions, the taxes, and the additional fees, which could be up to 8% of the sales price. So you have to look at your CMA to know what your bottom line is, and that is always a great place to start. The next thing I want to go over as far as the benefits of selling is the fact that to sell your house right now, you typically don't need to upgrade your home's condition. And a lot of times you can sell your house for as is, because quite frankly, there's a line of people that are trying to purchase right now. The demand to buy is really, really overwhelming. And not to mention, there's a fear of missing out in the market. So a lot of buyers right now are actually offering $25,000 to $50,000 over asking price. So that means that it's not always necessary to even fix up or repair any cosmetic problems with your house. In other words, there's so much demand, you may not really need to do anything except see what your bottom line is and then list your house. Now, I want to go into how important the massive and sudden surge of equity growth is from the standpoint of the seller. We're basically in a situation right now where there has been year over year over year of double-digit equity growth. It's kind of like a shock to our economy. So we're going to look at the Fred economic data for the median average house prices right now, because I want to show you that we are essentially at the peak and it is the best time to sell. Take a look at this graph. Okay, so here's really the important thing. From 2020 to 2021, there was this massive jump in equity. This is the median sales price of homes sold for the United States. Okay, this goes back about, looks like over 10 years. So from 2001, 22 years. Okay, now look, it's usually a steady pace, except there's a little bit of a buildup here and then a crash here. Okay, this was a 2008 crash. Okay, then a modest, increase down, up, periods of correction, and then all of a sudden a massive surge in equity. Okay, so that's to show you guys that I know what I'm talking about. Okay, your houses have gone up a considerable amount in just a couple years, and that's the point I'm trying to make. There has never been a time like this where houses have gone up so quickly, so fast. And like I said, that window to sell with such increased equity growth may not be open forever or even for that much longer. Now, the fourth thing that I want to say, if you're considering selling your house, and really the benefits is, I really think that you can win and make a lot of money if you do things correctly. You can sell and cash in at the potentially the peak of the housing market, and you don't necessarily need to buy a house. What I did myself is rented. I'm sitting this one out. I want to rent for about a year and a half, possibly. I'll double down on renting just to make sure that I can ride out all of the emotion and supply problems and things of that nature. And I want the affordability factors to play out before I go and buy in again. So in other words, you don't have to buy right away, and you probably shouldn't. If you're a seller, you are fixing to potentially make a lot of money and to really get ahead in your life, as long as you don't overpay right now. So there's all these good reasons to sell your house. Let's talk about why I think that window to sell your house might be closing. Now, the number one thing is inventory. And what I'm saying right now is we are going to be going into further on this year in 2022, and more inventory is going to be coming to the market. But not only just coming to the market at historical surges. Not only the foreclosures are coming, the new builders are going crazy. Resale homes are fixing to be listed back on the market because we're going into spring and summer, which are historically the biggest times of year when there's an inventory surge. Take a look at this. Now, this is a historical chart of how new listings for resale homes comes onto the market. Look at May months. May, record influx. Those are the peaks. Okay, these are peaks here. All right, right now we're way down here because it's January, February. Okay, but we're fixing to head into our own peaks again. And by the way, that's Fred Economic Data. I love that website for data. But we are fixing to go on historically booming months for inventory to come back on the market. And that's just talking about resale homes. Take a look at this graph for how many new builds are being constructed and how much new inventory is going to start coming on the market in 2022. Okay, this is the 10-year chart of new build permits being pulled in the thousands of units. Okay, so if you look here, this is why one of the reasons why I have such a problem with supply and inventory. New build permits plunged, right? It dropped big time when COVID hit. So the sudden surge is here, sold all the inventory. But essentially, we're way up here as far as new homes being built. We had this dip right here, obviously, where COVID shut everything down. And quite frankly, we're just catching up. Okay, so there's this historic amount, over 1.8 million new homes being built right now, which is obviously going to help the housing market and obviously going to help with the inventory coming. Now, personally, I think that new builders are going to be part of the backbone of the housing market going into the future. We have never needed new home builders as much as we needed them right now. But nevertheless, the further we go on in this year up into fall, there's going to be a lot more inventory coming to the market. So that's number one as far as why the window is closing. Now, the number two reason why the window is closing to cash in on your profits is essentially surging interest rates. It's not that interest rates are just going back to the normal or pre-COVID, because that's essentially what it's doing. Rates are just going back to what they were for the most part. The problem is the sudden surge, right? There's really not been a big transition. It has been really shocking, and that is going to essentially eliminate a lot of buyers that were barely on the fence able to qualify. And the reason is we have such a more solid buyer in 2022 that any fluctuation in interest rate change or monthly payment could immediately disqualify someone, whereas back in 2008 we could state their income. So the home loans right now are very sensitive to surging interest rates, and that's not counting how much inflation, everyday inflation, has got out of control. But look at this graph right now just to see the surge of interest rates. Okay, guys, so here's another graph from Fred Economic Data. This is a 30-year fixed rate. Now, over here is the pre-COVID, essentially right here. You see this? And that's what I'm saying. Rates are just going back up to here. They may go higher just because of inflation, but look at the problem is this massive surge. Look at this. This is a massive surge in interest rates, essentially the average being at from, let's see here, about 3.05 all the way to 4.42 in a very, very historically short amount of time. And that is really, really putting a huge impact on these first-time homebuyers and homebuyers in general. So that's why I'm saying the demand is also going down. So the inventory is going to go up. Demand's also going to go down. Now, the third reason why I think your window is closing if you're going to sell your house is we have a possible recession right around the corner. Now, if you don't know what a recession is, it's essentially 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. And one of the indicators that we can follow to see if we're headed into a recession is the treasury yields, okay? And essentially what is looked at is the 2-year and the 10-year, the 2 and the 10. Now, if the 2-year yield is higher than the 10-year yield, usually that's a strong indicator of a recession. That alone has called 9 recent recessions. So if the 2 is over the 10, it's more than likely we're headed for a recession. And as of today, it was only a 4 basis point difference from 2 to 10. So all signs in my eyes are pointing to a recession. And the problem with that is it is going to hit the job market and it won't allow people to make as much money. So not only do we have surging interest rates and inflation, we also have that possible recession, which will really take a lot of money and opportunity out of the market. And that's why I'm saying your window is closing. So we're fixing to close this video down, but I want to kind of just bullet point what my opinion is. And my number one opinion here is right now, as of today, it has never been a better time to sell your house. And if you can sell your house, if you can profit on that, it may be a really good opportunity to do that and just save your money, hold your money, rent for the time being, because I really feel like you can win. Now, overall, here's what I think is going to happen. Starting probably towards the end of Q2, the Fed is basically going to rug pull us. Okay, there's going to be a massive increase and surge again in interest rates in May and in June. So Q2 is going to be the official rug pull. Going into Q3 of this year, in my opinion, what is going to happen is this is when a lot of the fear of missing out and the emotional turmoil that the market's in is going to start leaving the market. We're not going to have as many desperate buyers going into Q3. And when all of that kind of balances out, that's why I'm saying in Q4, what I believe is we're going to start seeing the housing market collapse. We're going to start seeing negative equity growth because of all of the things that I just mentioned. Now, that's my opinion, you guys. Now, as always, I forgot to mention, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, comment below. Let me know if I'm off base here, but overall, you guys, I think you can make a ton of money if you sell your house right now. And regardless of what you do, if you sell, if you're renting, regardless of what you're doing, I wish you luck out there, and I hope you win.